psalmist knew that. He was serious about his own personal discipleship. He would have to be immersed in the law in order to learn to love the law. And that immersion happens by doing it, by being in the habit of doing that. And the psalmist was saying to the Lord, give me life. And he knew how the Lord was using his law to give him life. The absence of the law was the biggest problem in Israel. Now sometimes they even knew the law, but they didn't do. They didn't understand that the law has an end, it has a purpose, it has a teleological value. That you go to the law, you immerse yourself in the law transforms you because you're soaking in it, and you're going to get it if you're in it. But God said at one point to the prophet Ezekiel, in Ezekiel chapter 33, verse 31, it says, they listen to your words, but they have no intention of doing what you say. The Israelites didn't understand that God's word brings life and deliverance. And lest you think this was only an Old Testament problem, we just need to turn a few pages over to James 1, where we find the admonition, be doers of the word and not hearers only, deceiving yourselves. Or the words of Jesus, when he stood before the crowds and said, why do you call me Lord, Lord, and you do not do what I tell you? In Luke 6:46. Now, we just sung about a lot of grace, didn't we? And we just testified about a lot of grace. And somebody's saying, wait a minute, Pastor. Wait, hold the phone. Wait. What about grace? Yes, there is grace. But until you understand the power and the importance of God's law, you will never understand the immeasurable worth and the gift that God's grace truly is. Listen, salvation comes to us in the obedience of Jesus to his law. You are not saved by your works, but you are. Works and obedience to the law still matter. They matter in eternity. God's law stands fast. It is forever. It lasts forever. It will not diminish. It must be fulfilled. And that's why we need Jesus. But that doesn't alleviate the obligation, the religious, the righteous obligation that we have before a holy God to understand and to obey his law and to be transformed by it. Tony Evans says in his commentary about this passage, deliverance comes to those who hope in God and his word. Listen, if you're going to hope in something, you're going to cling to it. You're going to look at it. You're going to pull it out. It ain't going to collect dust in the corner. It is your hope. It is your aim. It is your life raft. It is the only way you're going to get somewhere. God's law is like that. So we look at this first letter and we remember God's law gives life. God's law gives deliverance. And in the second letter, God's law is glorious. It is about the glory of God's law. God's law is awesome. Verse 161, the psalmist said, I stand in awe of your words. Everything God says is a promise. Everything God says stands forever. Look what he says in verse 162, I rejoice. Your law is great spoil. In other words, it's a treasure. Your law is a treasure to me. Verse 163, I love your law. Verse 165, great peace have those who love your law. Verse 166, I love them exceedingly. And then this amazing statement in verse 164, hold on to your hats. 7 times a day I praise you for your righteous rules. Look, this psalmist is he's in the habit. He's got some daily devotions going on a schedule. Now listen, let me just pull back and look at religious people. You know, Islam, how many times a day does Islam pray? Some sects, some denominations of Islam, it's 5 times a day. Some it's 7. Listen, you're going to be on